Hello students, and welcome to your first video on lesson 9.4. We're going to continue talking now about square roots, but we're going to talk about them in the context of how they relate to other numbers, okay, and how they're different than other numbers and how they're maybe the same in certain cases and stuff like that, all right? What we're going to start with today is just including some crazier square roots in lists of numbers that we're asked to put in order, okay? So for example, I might be asked to order the following numbers from least to greatest, okay? It might say 4.67, comma, I don't know, 15 over 3, or 15 over 4 maybe, and negative 4.6, and negative 4.75, and then the square root of 16, or the square root of 17 is what we'll do. So we might be asked to take this list of numbers, okay? We might be asked to order them from smallest to biggest. Now I'm not going to have a 17 there. It's going to have a square root of 17. Okay, so we've done some of this previously in terms of ordering numbers, but this last one is really what's new for us now, okay? This guy right here, this square root of 17. So what I'm going to tell you is, in order to order these numbers, we are going to change all of them to be decimal versions, okay? We're going to talk mostly about ordering decimals, but in order to order decimals, we need everything to be decimals first, okay? So there are two numbers here that are not decimals. This guy, 15 over 4, and this guy, the square root of 17, okay? And that's mostly what we're going to see in our practice problems is fractions and square roots. So we need to know how to turn both of those into decimal form. So I'm going to take this one first, 15 over 4. And on my calculator, regardless of yours looking different than mine or whatever, I'm just going to use a division symbol instead of that fraction bar, and I'm going to do 15 divided by 4. I'm going to hit enter. Okay, it's 3.75. So I'm going to go back here, and instead of 15 over 4, I'm going to think 3.75. Okay, that's what this is. This thing right here is 3.75. So I'm basically turning that into this. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the square root of 17. I'm going to turn that also into a decimal version, but you're going to notice something about the decimal that I create, or the decimal version of this number, square root of 17. Okay, if I do the square root of 17 and then hit enter, it shows up as 4.12310566 on my calculator. That is a rounded off version, you guys, of a decimal number that goes on forever. Okay, it just continues on and on and on and on and on and on. And it never stops, and it never repeats any sort of pattern so that we could use that little repeating line over our decimals. This is a never-ending, non-repeating decimal. Okay, the square root of 17 is a never-ending, non-repeating decimal. It has a special name, which we will talk about in our next video when we get to different types of numbers, okay? But for right now, we just need to know that this decimal version is going to go on and on and on and on and on. So all you need to do is round it off, right? We practiced our rounding a while ago to maybe the third decimal place, depending on how many other decimal places you have. Okay, so like in this case, yeah, I might just write down 3 or 4 decimal places, okay? So if I go back here, 4.12310, or 1231 is what I'm going to do. So this number, the square root of 17, is really 4.1231. Okay, 4.1231 is really what that one is. So now that I have everything in decimal form, I'm going to now start putting things in order, okay? And putting things in order from smallest to biggest, let's say we're going from least to greatest, okay? I'll say that here. Least to greatest means I should probably start with my negatives, right? If I'm going to put these numbers in order from least to greatest, I'm going to start with my negatives. So my two negatives are right here. this one, and this one. If I want to start with the least number, right, the lowest, I should start with the most negative, the most in the negative direction. So which of these two numbers is the most in the negative, right? The most that direction. Well, it's this one right here, because 4.75 is bigger than 4.6, right? And remember, if you want to compare these better, you can always add zeros to your decimal numbers that don't have as many place values or as many places in the decimal. And now it should make sense that 75 is more negative than 60, right? 75 is bigger, so it is a more negative number. So my lowest or my least number in this case is my negative 4.75. Next is going to be my only other negative, which is 4.6, and I can put 4.60 if we think that helps. Okay, so there's my first two numbers, and now I have three other positive numbers that I need to order from smallest to biggest. I have this one, I have this one, and I have this one. Well, just looking at the first digit, the smallest of these three numbers that I've underlined in red is right here, 3.75, because that one didn't quite get to 4. So I'm going to put 3.75 next. Or if you prefer to go back to the way they originally gave them to you, you can go ahead and do 15 over 4 if you want, or 3.75. I don't really care which one you do. The next one, okay, so now I'm done with that one. I've dealt with this. This one's gone. So now I'm dealing with 4.67 and 4.1231. Well, it should make sense. If this one has 4 decimal places, if I throw a couple more zeros on here, 123 is smaller than 670, right? This is sort of like 100 or 1,000, and this is like 6,000. So 1,000 is going to be smaller than 6,000, right? So I'm going to put 4.1231 next. And again, if you want to, you can go ahead and put the square root of 17 back in there if you want. Okay, square root of 17. And then my last number is going to be this 4.67. And that is my list of these 5 numbers in order from least to greatest. Okay, so step number 1 when we're trying to order numbers is to just change them all to be decimal form. Okay, that's one of the easiest things to do with any numbers. Turn it into a decimal as long as you have a calculator handy. So here, remember how I did that. The fractions, I used the division sign. Square roots, I just did on my calculator. Now, if you have a calculator that does not give you a decimal answer when you punch in the square root of 17, some calculators take square root of 17 and they just say square root of 17. Send me an email or give me a call and I'll try to walk you through how to change that so that you can see the decimal version, or you can possibly just do it on your Chromebook, your computer, even on Google. They should be able to give you the decimal version of those square roots, all right? If you have any questions about ordering numbers now that we are including these square roots, please let me know. Please reach out to me either by email, phone, or my Zoom office hours. Otherwise, that's all I have for you right now, and we'll talk to you soon.